Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Hello, a few technical difficulties there. I bet you're sat there thinking, great news, Chris isn't going to come in. I just needed to press the other button. We seem to be having a few technical problems this evening. Hey, 4-0. Wasn't expecting that, were you? Well, whatever happened, we actually won. We did indeed, and we are through to the next round. Strong team put out, strong team performance. What did you think? We're all superheroes out there this evening, weren't there? There we go. 4-0. Let's bring Julian in. Julian Watts, ex-Fox. Good afternoon, Julian.
Afternoon, Chris.
How the devil are you, sir?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Good, good. Looks like it's going to be you and me tonight. We can't get Brad on. He's got a new phone. He's had a few teething problems. So whether he'll be able to join us via the comments or not, I don't know. But it was job well done, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought so. I didn't think Stoke really put up much opposition. They sort of sat back. They tried to contain us, and it was probably going to take something special for us to break through, which it did in the end. But once that goal went in, I felt like it was pretty easy going, if I'm honest.
Indeed, it did seem. I mean, they have the chances, but I was never worried.
No, and it's, I noticed late in the game when it was 2-0 and they didn't really press us then, it sort of seemed like, they were just there to keep the score down, which is never a fantastic tactic, if I'm honest. But, they didn't really have a go at us. Yeah, they did have a couple of chances, but like I say, I think we were comfortable in possession. Tielemans had a lot of the ball. Pleased for Albrighton to get his goal, because I know he gets some stick from some quarters. So I think all in all, it was job well done, good day, some good performances. And, like you say, we can look forward to the next round.
We can indeed. And if you are watching us, don't forget, if you're on Facebook, please give that little StreamYard link a click and join on, then we can see your names. If you're watching us on Twitter or Periscope, it's at Leicester Till I Die. Sorry, at Leicester TID, sorry. And YouTube TV is Leicester Till I Die TV. Rudy Ahern, where we got you, sorry. It jumped then. Rudy Ahern, good afternoon, Rudy. Good professional job. Never really looked like conceding, which is basically what you were saying, Julian. And didn't need to get out of first gear for most of the game. JJ and Castagna ran the socks off. They did, didn't they? They had brilliant games.
They did, and I think that's what caused Stoke a lot of problems who were playing with wing-backs, the fact that our full-backs overloaded them on that side, and I think they found that tough to deal with, and they never really changed anything tactically to cope with it. So it was a great outlet for us all game, and it made us very dangerous.
Yeah. Facebook, you say good job done, only downside. Pratt didn't look too good, and that's Rob. Good evening, Rob. They were saying that if it's his hamstring, and you'll know as an ex-player better than most, people saying 6 to 8 weeks, which would probably be the end of the season now for him.
It is. I mean, hamstrings, horrible thing to go. It happened to me once, and mine was, I think, same 6 to 8. When you really, really pull it properly, which is without expectation of anything happening, you're stretching for it, and it goes properly. It's a long old road back, and you have to be really careful with the rehabilitation, because once you've done it once, you're really susceptible to it again. So yeah, it was a downside for the game, and it was strange so late in the game, if I'm honest. But it just looked like he was stretching at a funny angle, and it just might have been the way his muscle was placed down. But you could see straight away exactly what it was, and it did look like a really bad one, to be fair.
It did. I mean, he pulled right up, didn't he? I mean, Pratt's not one for sort of, and there's no need for him to go down just to try and waste time. But you could see he was stretching, I think, to try and get to the ball, and that's probably maybe what did it. But I suppose, and we wish him all the best, and we wish him a speedy recovery. But at least, hopefully, Maddison's going to be on the way back, and his isn't too serious.
No, and and obviously Mendy came on. We've got Maddison who can drop in there, and Didi, Tielemans. There is covering that. It is a shame. I mean, he was doing something that there's a nice mix of midfield players in there. So Mendy's not one to make forward runs, and unfortunately he got injured making a forward run. It was a great run and it was a great ball, and unfortunately that's come out to the other side of it. So you'll miss that side of his game, but we have got cover in those positions, and we have shown through some bad injuries that we've been able to cope with it and still get results. So that's been a positive side of the last sort of couple of months, I think.
Exactly, agree 100%. And I don't mean this disparagingly against him, but he's not always the first choice starter, is he? He was always a sort of backup player. But like you say, we're not short of options there.
No, I mean, I'm a real big fan of Ndidi's. Think he does a fantastic job that we've seen, in other Premier League players, Fernandinho's and players like that. Does that great role. And then Tielemans today, who, sometimes I think people think he's a bit hit and miss, but he sort of tracked the ball really well today. Every time he was on the ball, I think he rarely made a bad pass, and he seems to follow the ball around the pitch, which is great for a central midfield player. So he's always available, and he can always keep, the play ticking over. And I thought he did that, particularly second half. I thought he did it excellently today once we got our noses in front.
I mean, I was surprised when I saw the team sheet. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting, obviously, we kind of knew about Maddison and Vardy being out. But when I saw sort of how strong it was, and Angie, I'm going to bring Angie's comment up in a bit for a second part of a comment. But it was a strong team. And it's nice, somebody said earlier, it's nice to see a City manager taking the cup seriously.
It is, but at the end of the day, we've got a real good opportunity to win a trophy, and I don't know why more sort of managers don't take it a bit more seriously, especially the FA Cup. And it is a great time for the bigger teams to sort of blood some youngsters, but sometimes I think they overdo it and put too many in. I mean, today, it'd be a great time to put one or two in, but we don't have to over-egg it. And to be fair, we didn't. We put a strong team, and I think my one disappointment today, because I'm a bit of a fan of his, is that the young lad Thomas didn't play. But it'd be a perfect opportunity in his development, and there's a lot of conversations about younger players coming in. I like at Foden at Man City, and probably not getting the game time he would expect. And I thought today was a real good time where we could have brought Thomas in and given him a lot of game time, because I think he's developing really, really well. There might be a reason for it, I don't know, but I think he's going to be one for the future, and the more game time you give him now, the better he'll come on.
Oh, definitely. And do you think, and I sort of touched on this before we came live, but do you think Brendan was a little bit mindful of 12's history in cup competitions? We all know that, having got knocked out by an understrength Man City side on penalties in the League Cup, he then went out and put an understrength side out against, was it either Millwall or Newport? In fact, probably both of them. And in the same season, we got knocked out of both cups because of weakened sides. So do you think that plays at the back of a manager's head, or do you think Brendan has just focused and has looked at it and said, yeah, we've not got any midweek games now, let's go for it?
It may well do, but I still think, like I say, there's such a good opportunity to win a trophy, League Cup, or FA, whichever it is. And I really don't understand managers' thinking, because I know there's a lot of games in the season, and I know they want to rotate the squads, but you can give them time off and rest players. So it frustrates me a bit, to be honest, because fantastic competitions. I would have loved to have won, an FA Cup or the chance to do that. I never really got close in my time, but maybe he does look at that, because it is a shame if you go somewhere and play a weakened team thinking, do you know what, we can get through with this team, and then it backfires on you, and you probably have a little bit of regret afterwards. And if he's had that regret afterwards, it might have changed his thoughts on today's lineup. And I was really pleased, to be fair, when I saw the lineup. I was a bit puzzled, I think, by the Perez playing up front, but other than that, I was really chuffed to see such a strong lineup.
I mean, I was torn because the League Cup, and I know we've got a history of doing well, obviously in the O'Neill years with yourself and what have you in the League Cup, but I wasn't. Well, with it being Arsenal, I wasn't sorry that we'd gone out, because we'd got the Europa League, and I felt a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I still got excited when we scored and pleased we're through, but there was still a little bit at the back of me going like, would it be the end of the world if we didn't go through? But always the bridesmaid yet to be the bride with the FA Cup.
Yeah, and that might be something that the club will set targets at the beginning of the season, and it may be that this season, they made that a target. But I mean, I will go back to a long time ago, 20 odd years when we played. We really wanted to play in every game, and I know the pace has picked up a little bit, but so has the fitness and the condition of the players. So for me, I think they are more than capable of coping with the games, as they come. And I know they come thick and fast, and the more competitions that you're in, the more games there's going to be. But with appropriate rest and having sort of gentler days on the training ground, I think there's plenty of time to recover. So, and again, getting into that winning habit, you can go into a cup game, weakened team, lose the game. It's a bit of a downer. So pleased that they played a stronger side. They've still got players to come back, and I just think it really bodes well.
I can see Brad has now been able to join us, so I'm going to bring him in, and I've got the perfect comment to bring him in. Aggie, you're wise beyond your years, if you feel the same as me. I'm just going to play this one, show this comment for you here, Julian.
I'm not really a rugby fan. It was actually a present, so I do have to wear it. My wife bought it, so.
Of the mother-in-law, was it? But
sorry, Kurt.
Sorry.
I said sorry, Kurt.
the only show where you get told off by the people watching. Anyway, finally, let's bring Brad in. He's worked out which buttons to press on his new phone.
Hi guys. Oh, that was a nightmare. I was going into the black hole of settings. I had to do settings, to go into settings, to go into browser settings, to allow this, to allow that. I nearly gave up, but it's finally working.
Well, you've certainly got a Jesus Christ look about you at the moment, with the light coming down.
I know, right? We're in the position of this light, and it's just like, no, I can't be bothered with it. It's still dead, and I'm running with it today.
Just bless you, my son. But I'm going to. You've missed a very, very intellectual conversations here between me and Julian. But I'm going to bring this point up from Aggie, because just perfect for you, just as you came in there, then Brad. Tillemans was a different class, especially second half. How do you think Perez did up until the goal? Didn't realise he was playing. Hardly ever mentioned. That was his chance, wasn't it?
He's just answered the question for me. I didn't know he was playing until he scored. He did nothing for me. I don't know why. Look, it worked in the end. It was a good result. We're all happy with it. And I don't like to pick negatives out of a decent performance and a professional job well done like that. But I saw the team, and I even said to you, Chris, it looks like Barnes is up front, and he was maybe going to put Albrighton back on the left and Perez on the right. And when I saw Perez up front, kind of like most of us do when we see Ian, he actually started, we kind of just, my heart sank a little bit. I thought, oh, great. But, it's neither here or there now, really. There's no point dwelling on someone else's performance. We just take the result as it is and enjoy it for what it is.
Rudy there saying your microphone sounds like it's made of a potato, Brad. Hey, Rudy, let's just be glad we've got Brad with us. It's taken him this long to get in. Let's knock it. Let's not knock it. And Julian, Kurt's letting you off.
Thanks, Kurt.
I think it shows, in the pre-match show when I was talking to Josh, Julian, we were talking about Perez, and we both kind of like Perez. and wanted him to do. I'd have loved him. I mean, he got the goal. Don't get me wrong. Although I said that, I think I could have scored that one, but it just shows that it is one area that we do lack the quality and backup.
It is, and I will say I feel sorry a bit for Perez, because a striker, the role, it's, I know he's professional football, it's so different, and it's quite a unique position, and if you're not used to playing there, it can be really difficult. What I will say is he took the goal well. He's got great ability. I think he's probably having a bit of a time at the minute where it's a bit difficult for him in and out of the team, and then obviously he's putting the team today out of position. So I do feel for him in that. What I sort of looked at today that I found interesting, and it's only because I know his dad, is that I think George Hurst is a real good prospect, and I know I've spoken to his dad about him in the past, and he really talks well of where he is in his development and what he thinks he's going to be when he's when he sort of gets more mature and reaches that sort of level. But I mean, his dad was like the best striker I've ever played with. He was unbelievable. And if George is anything like that, I think he's a fantastic prospect. And I noticed today he came off the bench at Rotherham. And for me, when we went on loan, however old you were, I remember going on loan to Shrewsbury when I was about 21. But you went on loan to play games, and I'm not quite understanding why he's not starting at Rotherham, because from what I've seen of him, he's not looked out of place when I have seen him play. He's in the England, under 21, 23 setups, or has been. So he's obviously got something, and I would like to see, he'd be better off coming off the bench at Leicester than he is at Rotherham if he's not getting full game time. I think it's a bit of a waste of his talent and development. So that is the backup, maybe that you're talking about. But having said that, you will probably need a bit more recognised backup as well, which we don't appear to have.
Yeah. Aggie, I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologise. I think Julian's just answered your question there. How's he doing at Rotherham? Couple of points here about Perez. Again, basically agreeing with you. A bit unfair on Perez. Did a lot off the ball. There were games when Vardy doesn't seem to be involved totally. How often do we say with Jamie Vardy, well, other commentators, he's had the least touches of any player on the pitch, including the goalie. And then suddenly, he produces that one moment of brilliance. Kurt, to be fair to Perez, we don't hear of Vardy again most of the game when he's up front until he bags the goal. Don't know what the strange decision was from Brendan, but there we go. Craig, good evening, Craig. Welcome along. He's left Yeremina with a head bandage today. And I think Perez was trying too hard when Perez was trying too hard when in the ball. Well, if he's in the ball, he's going to have a really difficulty kicking it, isn't he? I think I know what you mean, though. However, still prefer him than Nacho. Point Julian made there, Brad, I'll come over to you now, is about George Hurst. It's a good point. I'm very much like a lot of fans screaming, it's January the transfer window, who we're bringing in. We've probably got one of the best batches of young players waiting to come through. Possibly all right, maybe I'm going over the top here, but certainly, if not as good as, almost as good as, obviously the famous class of 90, whenever it was with Man United. We've got a good youth setup, haven't we?
Yeah, we do, and we've made a few points as recently to talk about the youth a bit more. I mean, I'm a big admirer of Admiral Musquet, or however you say his last name. I've taken more of an interest. I've taken a bit more of an interest in it in the last couple of years, not just because of things that have been going on with us, but just because the under-23s have really kind of followed suit. They seem to be having the same sort of practice makes perfect, getting them ready for the first team. And over the other couple of years, maybe they've played differently to the first team to suit the youngsters, where now they're trying to get the youngsters suited to first team for when they're ready. And I think you can kind of tell by the transfer talks and the things that managers are saying about the likes of Chowdhury and Gray, and the fact that we're seeing Hurst on loan and, Musquet out on loan as well. You're probably saying that, okay, he would rather them go and get 75 minutes, an hour, 50 minutes, 45, 30 minutes every week or every other week at Rotherham or wherever it is they're out on loan than he would be give him 90 minutes against Stoke. We go and get Manchester United in the fourth round and he never plays for us again this season because there's not a game opportunity that presents himself to give him a run in the team unless it's an injury. I think it's just a better option. I'd like to see them come through. but I think from the intent, from the talk of Rodgers with his transfer situation and letting the youngsters go on loan, that he's going to bring, if he's going to bring anyone in, it's going to make an immediate impact on the first team than it is to develop.
And it's a good position to be in, the fact that we've got those youngsters, because obviously it's good for the club. We're not spending much. I mean, moving on to the game, it was 400 games up for Kasper Schmeichel. That made me feel old. I hadn't realised, but James Justin has played 90 minutes in the last 17 fixtures. And that guy is just like lightning, isn't he? He just never seems to. He's like the Duracell rabbit. He never sort of, and when I say rabbit, I mean the little furry rabbit. He never sort of wears down. And moving on for the fact that Barnes and the whistle went, nearly forgot to take the knee and shot straight off up the pitch. We made a good start, didn't we, Julian?
We did, and like I say, there was a couple of chances for Stoke, but it just felt. I mean, just watching it on the television, it just felt comfortable. It really did feel like, and I think if I was sat watching it and Stoke would have scored, I would have thought, you know what, we'll go the other end and get one. I think they huffed and puffed. They didn't really press us a lot. They kept the shape well. They were trying to contain us, as I've said before, and it was going to be something special to like break the deadlock. And once that happened, it was like freewheeling downhill for me. I thought it was such a comfortable victory.
But Julian, I mean, Stoke, I know they've got injuries, but they'd knocked. I mean, Wolves was one, and I'm not sure whether it was Palace or Fulham, but they'd knocked two teams out of the League Cup, so they weren't to be taken lightly, were they?
No, they weren't, and that's what surprised me, that they had a good track record this season in the cups, and obviously they've got the Championship to concentrate on now. But it just surprised me, after we scored, that they didn't really come after us. And that's, for me, a team. It looked like, and it's probably a very harsh word, but it looked like a really unambitious performance from them. They never, ever really came at us, even late in the second half. Like I said, at 2-0, you probably still think you've got a chance. When the third and fourth go in, then you more or less know the game's gone. But at 2-0, you're still in the game. A goal can change things around really, really quickly. But we had the ball at the back, and they didn't really have that urgency to press us at all. And it's at that point that I thought, this is game over. I actually thought we'd just see it out at 2-0, but obviously we got the two great team goals with a good bit of passing and some movement. But even at 2-0, it was game over, to be fair.
And Brad, when we got our goal, and what a goal that first goal was, it came because Stoke were just beginning. We'd had that good start. Stoke were just beginning to get a foothold into the game. It came at a good time. Although obviously it's always a good time to get a goal, but it did stifle them a little bit.
Yeah, it did. It kind of knocked the stuffing out of them from whatever momentum they were building up. And like Julian said, they never really looked to threat. And even if they did get a goal, you kind of just felt, well, Leicester was going to roll another one in, and it was going to be an easy afternoon. And in the end, that's what it was. It was nice to see Justin get a goal of that sort of quality, because I think I remember it was one of Brendan's first games in charge, Man City. We all remember that Vincent Kompany screamer, don't we, that eventually gifted Man City the title that year. It kind of reminded me like that. I kind of like it, and I'm sure players of Justin and DD and that like to see the defence sit back as if to go, well, if you're going to shoot, you're going to have to be special to score, or you're going to find a new route into our goal, because you're not going to score by running at us because we've got too many men in front of the ball. And Justin went, all right, then if you're going to give me the time and space to think about it, do a crossword puzzle, I'm going to curl it into the top corner, because he had all the time in the world to pick the spot out, and he did it well. It
was. I mean, Brett, good evening, Brett. And I always must say good evening, Brett, and good evening, Mrs. Ahern as well. JJ will surely be in the next England squad. Craig, I think, is a little bit miffed here that Brendan didn't follow his advice with all the changes for the game. But a big bench today. Roger still didn't promote any youth to the bench for some reason. Julian, you're buggered if you do, you're buggered if you don't. We were criticising before Puel for, the second string teams that he was putting out against the likes of Newport and Millwall. Brendan's gone here for the a full strength team, it's a devil's job being a manager, isn't it?
It is, but I get what Craig's saying, and I think it's just more than that. Great, put the strong team out, but then have a bit more youth on the bench because you've gone there with showing your purpose that you want to win the game. But and again, I go back to him, Luke Thomas. I would have loved to see him come on. I think it's perfect, especially when you get to 3-0. Maybe 20 minutes to go, or it might have been 15 minutes at the time. Give him some more game time. He really needs it. I mean, you can see. What's happened to JJ as he's come into the team and been regular. He's coming on leaps and bounds, and the England squad isn't unreachable for him, if I'm honest. So, but he's come on just for the facts of injuries, and he's come into the team and taken his opportunity. But if you don't get that opportunity, sometimes you can go a bit stale. And I think you need to keep the younger players interested. If they don't think they're ever going to get a chance, then all of a sudden, they can just plateau. And I just think. Give them the encouragement that they know, and if they're performing well in training and in the under-23 games, the opportunity might arise. And if you give them that, it's a big carrot for them to get stuck into.
Craig, I'm just winding you up, mate, from the preview show. I know you weren't criticising. I'm just a little bit of a bit of banter and a bit of wind up there. Kurt says here, as you like to say, Chris, we played like Brazil today. Some lovely passing, and Stoke defenders didn't have an answer to us. I don't know what you watched it on, Brad. I mean, I was watching on iPlayer, and I'm not sure the commentator was. Stephen Warnock was the co-commentator. Somebody said that they were very pro-Stoke. I don't think they were at all. I mean, if you closed your eyes and listened to that, we did play like Brazil at times.
Well, the source that I acquired it from to watch this game from shall not be mentioned, as you always like to lump me with that one. But it might have been through the same source. It was just broadcasted less legally, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
But they were very. I have to admit, I thought the source I was watching from were very Stoke. We complain about Sky saying, "Oh, look, you wouldn't know Leicester." Like last week, "Oh, Leicester were playing Newcastle. You wouldn't know it because all we could talk about was Spurs, and they're loving with Spurs." Well, if you closed your eyes, you wouldn't have known there was a game kicking off because all it was Stoke's manager, and any Irish connection out there that they could think of. They're on about Stoke. They're on about Stoke's manager. They're on about his style of play and the positives that Stoke would take from it, and Stoke and Ireland and Republic. And I was like, have we kicked off? Are we playing? Because unless I had my eyes, mate, I wouldn't have known.
Maybe it was different on, because I was certainly on the BBC Red button. I'm not sure how you watched, Julian, but like I say, Stephen Warnock was having a loving with Leicester City.
Yeah, I watched it on the iPlayer and I didn't take much notice of it anyway. But yeah, he did. And he was praising Tielemans quite a lot second half, rightly so. I thought he was excellent today. We did play well and not quite like Brazil, but I do think, again, it's because the opposition sat off us a bit. The midfield players, back players had quite a bit of time on the ball, but, still job done and it was excellent.
I mean, you've led me straight into it there, and I'll stick with you, Julian, for this one. Tielemans, what a ball through for Albrighton.
Yeah, he's got that about him. And like I say, I think he's had sort of patches of form where, he came in and he was bright and fresh and played ever so well. And then he sort of had a few dips here and there. But, going on today, I thought he was absolutely excellent. He was the player that kept us ticking all the time. He was always available for the ball. He was always moving the ball quickly. As you've said, the ball through to Albrighton, fantastic. So I thought, he was probably the man of the match for me, better player on the pitch than anyone else. Lots of touches, lots of positives, always looking to play forward. I thought he was outstanding.
And I think it says a lot, Brad, about how well one team is playing, I think, anyway, when the other team has to make 3 substitutions all in one go. And that's what Stoke did. 5 minutes later, we were 3-0 up with Perez. Kind of threw them out their stride, having 3 substitutions all in one go.
Yeah, I think at that point, especially when you're the Championship side, you kind of go boom or bust. I think they were more inclined to probably use the youth than we were, just because Brendan's preference for taking competitions at full strength or as best he can, or whatever the reason is. That, like you said, there weren't youth on the bench, but Stoke were probably more inclined to use it. I don't know how Stoke are doing so well in the league, and maybe they've not been on a decent run, and he thought, I need these players fit for our league game to keep up with the top
I know they've had a lot
you'd
of
assume someone at
injuries,
Stoke would be wanting playoffs. Sorry, what was that, Chris?
So they've had a load of injuries.
I heard that as well. They've just had a few players returning from injuries, so they're trying to manage as well. And we have just come off the back of the typical busy winter period. I know, we've had a week off or so to deal with that, but still, it still plays a part when they're coming back from injuries and they need to get game time. I think he just thought the game was gone, and Stoke very much after that second goal went in, the whole team played like the game was gone, and I think the managers did the right thing, took them off, give them the rollicking to get it full time and move on and push forward in the league, and then they can concentrate on that. I just think it was man management style that you see every so often from the lower league side once the banana skin or the cup upset isn't going to happen.
Yes. And Julian, we scored 2 very quick goals. Now I'm going to rely on you here to talk me through the Barnes goal, because I was actually still tired, because I was watching it in one room, but my computer and all the camera and everything is set up in another room where there's no telly. So whilst I was actually still putting online that Perez had scored to make it 3-0, I could hear them on the telly in the other room saying Barnes had got a 4th to make it 4-0. Talk me through the Barnes goal.
It was just a ball in the box, and defender half cleared it, and it was just about technique. He got his knee over the ball. Excellent strike. Really struck it really cleanly, and I think you can see that he's playing with confidence. Again, he's having an excellent run in the team, and I'm a big fan of his as well. I think he's a fantastic young player, and it was just all about the technique, and he executed it perfectly.
Yeah. And Brad, 4-0 up, 80 minutes, 10 minutes left. And I'm going to defend the guy here. Inacho came on. Now, we're all screaming about how he plays and all this, and he's not being given the chance. 10 minutes is not long enough for anybody to really, unless you score a wonder goal, if you come on and do what JJ did, but that's very rarely going to happen. He's not really had the chance today to show anything, has he?
No, but I think his past performances are maybe like he's been put on a little bit of the naughty step. He's kind of been told, look, your standards aren't up to where we thought you'd be and where you probably personally want to be. So for that reason, instead, Perez has got to, whatever I think or whatever Julian or yourself think of Perez or whatever in his efforts today, I'm not saying he wasn't running around. I'm just saying I didn't hear a lot of him. Today, Perez has got a few goals and assists, and he's got more confidence. So who deserves the more game time? And unfortunately, that was just the case today. I mean, he didn't do too much when he came on, and it's just one of them. At the end of the day, he's got a warrant getting that start, and if he comes on in 10 minutes and he's got hunger in his belly and he wants to put things right, he sets up a few chances. It doesn't matter if he doesn't score or he doesn't get an assist in 10 minutes. I'm not expecting him to. If he does, brilliant. But if he's showing the intent and the balls forward are decent and it's other players letting him down, then at least he can say, well, I'm trying and I'm doing my job to prove I'm good enough to come on and play for Leicester City in the role he was asking me.
Like you said earlier, Julian, it's always a problem with a striker, no matter how good they play and setting people up and holding the ball up and making space, they are judged on the number of goals they score. Just as with a goalkeeper, you can have a worldly game but still lose 3-0, and it's almost like a black mark against you. Again, a case of not being able to win sometimes, isn't it?
It is. I mean, there's few. There's one of my players that I really like is Firmino at Liverpool, and he's not really a goal scorer. He does cut way in with an amount, but I think he's so good for the team, and the team wins and scores goals that you probably would. He was a player that you probably would excuse, but like you said, with Vardy having few touches, probably Perez having few touches today. If they didn't get the goals, you'd be thinking, what are they actually contributing to, the overall performance and the results that the team's achieving? So, unfortunately, that's just part of being a striker. You need to hit the back of the net, and and if you're not, like you say, your time on the pitch might be quite sparse.
I'm going to ask this to both of you, so maybe Brad first and then Julian afterwards. When we look at these cup games, whether it be League Cup, FA Cup, and we've always talked about putting second string teams out, and we're giving the main players a rest and bringing the not going to say reserves, but bringing the next string through. Leicester's never been able to do that, I don't feel. You know, you sometimes you look at Man City, and I know it's got the money and what have you, but you look at those sort of teams and think, by God, their second string team, you wouldn't know any difference from the first. We've never been like that, but I feel like we are now, Brad.
No, that's true. It makes a bit of a change to be able to kind of call. I mean, over the years, I've kind of lessened to the term second string, because when that comes out on Facebook, the media march comes out and everybody goes, "Oh, you're playing a second string. You can't play that. You want to take it seriously." And you've got to remind people it's a squad game, and then, you know, people like myself and probably you guys are there. Maybe Julian not so much, because he's older and wiser and knows to stay away from it. But he might.
1 out of 2 is not bad.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But, you know, we'll sit there and go, no, you guys are saying it's a second string. These guys have brought in at Leicester to be good enough. And yeah, it's nice to have a bit of youth and a bit of a change up. And it's nice to know we've got a bit, you know, we feel a bit more secure with our other players like Mendy and that come into the team. And Thomas, if he'd got picked today, would have felt comfortable with pretty much any lineup since the start of the season after the first 5 or 6 games, where Brendan could have put Marty up front and would have questioned it when he scored a hat-trick the way it was going. You know, that sort of ridiculousness, the way it was going for position-wise. But it does its job. We've got the confidence in it. And you can go at it a bit more. And it's always easier when things are going right for you. When things are going right and results are going the way you expect them, it's easy to sit here and go, yeah, good decision, things, la la. It's like you guys said earlier, like Powell and that, when we were second-string teams, you know, had Rodgers done that today and Thomas got a start and someone else played and as Admiral got a start and we lost that game, or it went all the way and we ended up winning it, we'd have been turning around and going, oh, well, you know, we should take this seriously because we might not win the European, we're not going to win the league. All of a sudden, fans changed their opinions and suddenly we're not winning the league, we're not winning Europa, so we need to go all in for the FA Cup. So, like you said, mate, you can't please everybody. It's a sod's law. It's a lot easier to manage a cup game on a game than it is in real life.
I must admit, Brad, that was a very good impersonation of Terry Christian you did then. I can tell you living
I know,
up there.
right? I threw it into the mix for you.
Julian, I mean, I say second string. I mean, years ago we would say reserves, but there's no such thing as a reserve team anymore. So I suppose you could call them squad players. I guess I'm being a little unfair, maybe calling them second string. But, you know, these are players. We know that, you know, if Indeed is fit, and we know there's not going to be a lot of games altogether, Mendy's probably not going to start. So, you know, but going back to the original question, we have got then, to reword it, probably the best squad, if you like, that we've had for a long, long time that I can sort of ever remember.
It is, and I think this, you know, I remember watching Man City play last week, and it was a supposed second string, and it's not. It's just that their squad's bigger, so when they're putting in players who aren't normally starting, they are vying for that shirt that they get, and then all of a sudden, like you say, people say second string. You know, they're not second string players, and the players that we've got aren't either. They've probably got one person in front of them in the Leicester squad, so they're one, you know, if you like, one player away from starting every week. So yeah, they're not second string players. It's like you say, they're more of a squad, and you're just giving opportunities to players who aren't playing every week, and hopefully, you know, like development or whatever, it helps in that respect. But like you say, we've got a really strong squad. We've shown that with the injuries that we've had, and like we've all talked about it before, that we've come through these injuries pretty well, if I'm honest. So it does sort of say that about us, that these so-called squad players, second string players, are actually first team players, but just not quite as good as the person in front of them.
Yeah, the incentive is there for them to do better, obviously. I'm going to say hello to one of my daughters here. Hello, daughter. Who is and this is the reason I am self-isolating at the moment, because of this young lady. Gets a job in the NHS within a couple of weeks, gets tested positive. Just the way it goes. Anyway, good evening, Heather. Josh Herod, good evening. How the devil are you, sir? Big shout out to Little West today. Dealt with a physical attack and style of play superbly, and I can't remember him losing the header. Got the perfect role model in Johnny Evans, teaching him on the pitch. He has he not? I mean, obviously, Johnny's signed an extension now, which is great news because he's got that experience. Because we think end of season, Big Wes and Big Christian will probably be moving on or retiring and moving on to different things. But I couldn't name a player out there today that had a bad game.
No, I think that's fair. I don't think there was anyone really that had a bad game. There was probably 3 or 4 that actually had very decent games. I have to agree with that comment. I thought yet again Fofana was, brilliant in everything he did. I mean, he even beat some of the top tall Stoke players that we all recognised in the air. He beat them in aerial duels, and he's not blessed with the greatest of height, but he can get about 6 foot odd blokes at his height, and he gets in there. And we keep saying it every week, but the whole media are marveling at him because he just reads the game so well. He's 10 years ahead of what he is, and one thing that is nice that we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, and it's always one point that's brought up. We say, oh, well, surely, Justin's not going to lose his place at left back. Where's Pereira going to fit in? Well, my answer would be, I know he's only just returned and he's only got about 10 to 12 minutes in each game, but who are you dropping to bring in Sayuncu, or you're going to have to rotate the 3 of them because you're not dropping Fofana and you're not dropping Evans at this moment. So it's nice to see a bit of stiff competition where even... maybe before the start of the season, your nailed on selections aren't now nailed on.
No. And going into February, we're obviously going to have the Europa League back. So if we do well in the FA Cup, we are, fighting on three fronts, as they say. Brett, I'm not sure that you mean me here, but if you do, thank you very much. But
that's his wife.
I think... I think he was referring to Johnny Evans, but I'll take what my daughter says here. The one and only Chris LTID. Are you after another loan, Heather? What are you up to there? Now I know that Brad doesn't like stats, so I'm going to pass this one over to you, Julian.
Thanks for coming on, Julian. I mean, come on, mate.
Avoid Brad altogether, but no. I'm quick to use these to criticise, but it's nice to see here, and I'm just going to concentrate on 2 there. Forget the possession, because like you say, that can mean sweet FA. But for once, we had 12 shots on target, 12 shots of which 7 were on target. One of our better returns, and it just shows that if you're not getting these shots on target, or you obviously, and it's a stupid thing, but simple thing to say, you're not going to score. And it's nice, I've seen some games where we've had 12 shots and 1 on target. So that was a good thing to see today.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it first half, and I think neither team had more than 2 shots on goal, and I think 1 on target. So I think that did come later in the game, but as we scored, we were a bit more free-flowing and, able to get at them a bit more. But it was good, and it just shows that we were on the front foot for the game. And, like I say, we were there to go and win the game and do a job, and we absolutely did that.
Yeah. Thomas, good evening to you. How you doing, guys? Good win today. Hopefully a good cup run. Will us not playing Inacho in cup give us a good chance this season? I think we've done Inacho. I think we should leave him. Even I'm saying that. The Bronze Plumber. Hello. I was half expecting they lost. I was half hoping they lost so they could focus on the league. Too many injuries this season to mess with cups. I don't want us to lose. I wouldn't have been disappointed, and I said this to you earlier, didn't I, Julian? I wouldn't have been disappointed had we lost. To me, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. But because obviously the teams that have got less games to play are going to do better in the league. But no, I wouldn't hope we'd lose. I want to win every game that we go into. I think we must have one of the best defences in the league when we're all up and running. Think you're right, Vaughan. Let's ask the defender that sat there in the middle. Got one of the best defences in the league, Julian?
Well, I think we have. I think, and I know I've said it on here before, that with Fofana, because he's young, he will make mistakes, and we're going to have to, forgive him for that. I mean, he didn't put a foot wrong today. I do think he's an absolute fantastic prospect, and like you say, with Sayuncu and Evans as well, we've got some real strength there. And as Brad said earlier, to play alongside Chris Evans and learn from him. I think he's one of the best centre halves in the league, Johnny Evans. Really,
Chris Evans, he's given up working at Virgin, has he?
So I think he's fantastic centre half. Great one for the young lad to learn off. And obviously, the fullbacks either side are really in some good form, and we've got some backup there and players to come back. So no, it's a very, very, very good back four. I wasn't so keen on the back three, not because I don't like that formation, just because the personnel didn't really fit it, in my opinion. But the back four today and going forward looks really strong.
Brilliant. Going to take a quick 10-second break, and then I'm going to come back and get your guys' opinion on. We're going to look at the man of the match and the ratings very quickly. So we'll be straight back after this.
Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube. Follow all their social media platforms for the latest updates and news.
Okay, there we go. He may look familiar to to some of you. Right, so man of the match, team player ratings. As you know, Alan Bennett does this for me straight in 2 or 3 minutes after the final whistle. Doesn't have a lot of time to think about it because I don't let him have the time to think about it. So he is quickly making a decision. I think he's pretty much, for me, got it spot on there. He's given the manager and the team 9 each. And Yuri Tillemans, man of the match. There were several he could have gone for, but I don't think he's far wrong from that. Do you, Brad?
No, I don't. I think his ratings are actually spot on there. I think, the way we've discussed this game, it's a clear 9 because it was comfortable. They never looked in control. They never looked in the game. I don't think the contest ever got off between Leicester and Stoke because Leicester were just doing what they did and were allowed to do it. Like you said, there was a lot of contenders for it. I, at one point, was maybe thinking Castagne for man of the match because he just kept running and running. Fofana, Evans, players we've talked about in depth through the show, you could say are up there. But I think one thing that's been questioned of Yuri and Dennis Pratt, maybe to a point as well, is when Maddison's not there, where's the leadership going to come from? Where's the killer instinct and the pass going to come from? And today, probably for the first time, or probably more recently, would I say, definitely in a stronger light today, you saw Tillemans take that role and he played it well. There was a lot of shouts from man of the matches in performance-wise, but when you question someone's credentials, they come out and play a game like that and prove you wrong, and they live up to them question marks that are over them. You've got to give credit where it's due, and I think Tillemans was the right shout for man of the match for me because when we needed a leader without Maddison, he's just done it today.
And Julian?
Yeah, I think we all alluded to that there weren't really many or any bad performances today, and I think the reason Tillemans stood out is because Stoke did sit off us a little bit, so he had more of the ball, and we probably noticed him more because of that. And he was always on it, and he was always looking for it. Like I say, he had a few nice passes and kept us ticking over really well. So, it could have been one of a handful picking man of the match. I think he was the right one. Like I say, noticing him more just because he was on the ball more.
Yeah. Right, well, very quickly, there's a question come up here. We're going to end with this one, but I just want one-word answers off you both. And we'll go to Brad first. No pressure here, Brad. But it's a question that has been raised here. If you could only pick one, would you rather have Soyuncu or Fofana? So just the name, Brad. Who would you sooner have? It's like Daddy Chips, really, isn't it? In fairness, it's a horrible question, which is why I'm asking.
Fofana. I'm sorry, but just on the edge, I'd have to give Fofana.
And Julian?
Fofana, easy one for me.
Yes, yeah. I don't have to answer it, you see, because I'm asking the question, so I'm getting out of it. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for joining me, and it's always good when it's on the back of a win as well.
Absolutely. Cheers, Chris. Cheers, Brad.
Brilliant.
Yeah, cheers, Colin, Julian. Thanks.
Next week, of course, it's going to be Southampton, 8:00 on a Saturday night. What? Mind you, can't go to the pub, can we?
Well, Probably a good thing.
Yes. Thanks a lot, guys. Stay safe. Hopefully see you next week.
Cheers, bye-bye.
Cheers. So thanks to Julian, thanks to Brad there. Yeah, next week, an 8 o'clock kickoff. Oh, and I think it's on BT Sport. Kurt, you agree with the Fofana choice there? Maybe I'll tell you offline in the group chat. Who knows? And good evening to you, Kurt. Thank you. So thanks to everybody that joined us. It says it's always a pleasure to do these things when we win. It's nice to do it when we lose, but it's obviously always a little bit better when we win. What's coming up next week? Well, I shall tell you. Funny seeing as you asked me. On Tuesday, we are going to have the preview show when we'll be looking ahead to Southampton. 7 o'clock with me and Craig. On Wednesday, we're going to have the transfer show where we're going to see if there's any movement in the transfer window. Myself and Mark there. Friday, I've got a friend. I know it's hard to believe. I do actually have a friend, but living down on the south coast here, I have a friend, George. He's an absolutely huge Southampton fan, and he said he'll come on and do the opposition show. So you can't let me down, guys. I want lots of posts about the 9-0. We've got to wind him up. I'm never going to let him forget that. And he doesn't let me forget that they won the return leg either. But that's on the Friday. Then obviously next next Saturday night, 40 minutes before, 40 minutes after the pre and post match shows. Guys, thank you for joining. It makes it all worthwhile. If you want to watch this again or you've missed any of it, it's on YouTube, Leicester Till I Die TV. The numbers are just brilliant. They're growing every day. We're a lot more than I expected us to be at this point. So if you can get that little button to subscribe, I would love you forever. And if you want to listen to us rather than watch us, and I don't blame you for that, Leicester Till I Die on podcast, Leicester Till I Die on the Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google, Anchor, and many others. Have a good rest of the weekend. Have a drink tonight and celebrate. And I'll see you all on Tuesday. See you next Tuesday, as they say. Goodbye now.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Shut up and sit down.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too or I'll be back.